Hello and welcome to SoBricks. I'm Adam and this is SoBricks. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the Lego Ninjago Lloyd's Legendary Dragon set. This is set number 71766. It has 747 pieces, and I paid $70 for this set. This set is retired, actually. I think it came out in 2022, so a couple years ago now. It hasn't been retired for that long. I was still able to find this on a shelf for its regular retail price. I think actually on Bricklink, like this one, and it hasn't, gone up, a ton in value and stuff. And I actually think there are some sellers in the US where I am who have this listed for maybe $60 or something, but then shipping and whatever else. So it seems to be holding about its MSRP in terms of value. I'm not going to speculate on where that could go further than this. I think this came out around in the same kind of Lego Ninjago era that the water dragon did, which I looked at, and I don't remember if I ever made a video about that one, but I did build it and I still have it. And it had cloth wings, and I was curious about this one, if they were going to be cloth or if they were going to be kind of that foil sort of vinyl plasticky type thing. And this is from the era of upgrading stuff. A mech might be one way, but then you can add on these other accessories, and a car might be one way, but you can add on all these things. And I've looked at various sets from this same kind of core element of this era of Ninjago. I think this is supposed to have some of it maybe indicated on the back of the box. I'm not really sure, but it looked like an interesting dragon. It's been a little while since I've built a Ninjago dragon, and I do enjoy them, so I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited to take a look at it. I've got to say, I do really like this box design too. It really gets me. I like the color blocking on the box and everything, and there's just it's a good looking art kind of on the front of the box there. So anyway, but I'm going to open this up. So while I put this together, I will speed the video up and then I'll slow it back down to review this set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this Lego Ninjago Lloyd's Legendary Dragon, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and then remind you, if you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. That helps me a lot. And then I want us to talk about the build. So we start off here with some of the minifigures. We got Lloyd there and one of these snake people. I think that one's a viper flyer kind of thing. And then we can start working on the body of Lloyd's Legendary Dragon. All in all, the color blocking of this is pretty good. We're starting here with the core sort of spine of this, and we're going to add on pretty early on some kind of different functions in here. So we have used some Technic lift beams in there that we then build a top of, and I was actually really pleased with how these functions turned out. So we're adding kind of one of these little Technic and ball joint kind of pieces there that can move when we articulate with those beams. We kind of lock those in place with some plates that are modified with the bar coming off of them sort of beneath there. This is really interesting because I think I got some extra pieces in here that aren't supposed to be here, which confused me for a while, but we're building out kind of the chest and belly area. Then we're building out kind of the right and left side of the dragon body there. That gives it a lot of bulk, a lot of that chest kind of area. And you can see those 4-ish extra pyramid tile type pieces. In this bag of pieces, we're going to work on some of the joints, going off to the neck and to the head there. And here we are building kind of the sub-assembly for the head, which I really appreciated. And it looks quite good. And you don't get a ton of articulation in terms of the jaw or mandible there, but because of the neck joints, we actually can move the head around a good amount. I did have some trouble with the tongue piece in there. And then we can work on the tail as well. So that's going to kind of get us to into most of the central body of this, and then we'll work on the legs. So first we will do the front legs. They are the bulkier legs, and use some of these bigger kind of ratchet joint type pieces that have been used for mechs and dragons for some time. Some stickers are in this set, not too many, and they add some good detail. They could probably be left off, but I didn't mind them at all. They are built pretty much the same right to left in terms of the front legs, and that applies to the rear legs as well. They're just mirrored, but like the same pieces and same kind of stuff there, which is pretty common for these. And then we can move into building sort of the legs here. All of the legs, including the hind legs and the front legs, have kind of a built-in sort of elbow knee joint that is static, and so you can't articulate it there, but it has other points of articulation that are quite nice. I liked how these feet were built here, and the claws are done nicely. Again, the front and rear feet for either side are the same forward and backward, and then they're just sort of mirrored right and left. We have a little bit of a side build here, and then we can finish off with the wings and some of the upgrade stuff here. The wing build are nice, some interesting techniques to kind of get the sort of angle of the wings correct, and then these sort of fit in with some of the functionality we saw earlier. And then we have the cloth wings, which are nicely produced. Happy to have those, and I talk about that in the full review. And then kind of this assortment of brown and gold pieces is like for the saddles kind of area there, and that is pretty simple but pretty nice, and that's it. So now on to my review for this set. Okay, so here we have the Lloyd's Legendary Dragon set from Ninjago. This is pretty cool. I enjoyed the build here. I'm pretty happy with what I have in front of me, and there's a good amount of stuff to look at, so we will just get into it. And the first thing to look at is the minifigures, because we do get some. You get 4 minifigures in here. The first one we get is Lloyd, and this is Lloyd's Legendary Dragon. So this is pretty cool. It's got Lloyd's color scheme. This is before I think Lloyd became I don't know what the exact terminology is, but elevated to the rank of Master Lloyd or anything like that, which I believe has happened now, but it hadn't happened at this time. They are holding a small kind of scimitar style blade here. We've got the hairpiece dual molded with the green kind of headband there, which is really nice and good, layering and different things. If we look underneath there, we can see the dual molding. Face printing is pretty standard. We have an alternate face with kind of a smirk and a sort of crooked smile almost, and then we have one that's like a battle ready kind of stare and grimace or something. And then looking at the torso beneath there, like I said, Lloyd's color scheme, we got the different color arms here. Torso is good, some nice scale type of dragon scale type of detailing over on one part of the robe, some other little stuff there. The layers underneath are pretty good. We do have printing on the midsection, printing on the legs up at the top and in the middle there, and down onto the kind of knee area. Looking at the back, it has Lloyd's kind of symbol here, and then has kind of that dragon motif behind it, with we can see kind of the jaws just there and some other coloration and stripes and stuff. This character also, besides the hairpiece, gets a dual molded mask or balaclava or whatever here with the headband and then the mask. So we have that as well. They also have, which I haven't attached, one of these pieces that goes around the minifigure neck between the head and the torso there, and it's got a kind of a pauldron and then a spot for one katana that can be put on as well. And we have kind of these lime green looking katanas there. So that is all of Lloyd. The other Ninjago character we have is Naya or Nia or whatever, and we have this character here. They have an accessory that's kind of brick built with one of these kind of interesting sort of blade things there, the gold hilt, gold kind of spire or arrow piece there. They also have a mask here. They don't get a hairpiece, which would have been great to get, so that this character could be played with and interacted with without their balaclava mask headwear stuff on there, but that is dual molded. This is a pretty common look and color scheme for Naya. In fact, as I said, I've looked at some other dragons, including like the water dragon that released around the same time as this, or maybe at the same time in this sort of same era of Ninjago, and I believe Naya was in there. I think this one's pretty similar in terms of their outfit. We can see the face printing. They have a little mole over here, kind of looks like they have some lip color, different stuff, more, you know, femme presenting. And we have the two faces, one looking a little more stern, a little more battle ready, and one a little more friendly and a little more neutral there. They also have the piece that kind of holds the katana at the back, as well as the kind of pauldron armor there. Looking at the torso, we have really good kind of like metallic coloring in here, and we have some good details. It's similar like stylistically, but over on this side we get a bunch of these almost like wave concentric circle type design there. On the other side we just have kind of like a patch or a pocket or something, and then we have the kind of robes, the different layers underneath. We do have printing on the midsection. We do have printing on the legs that kind of continue the design from the top, so the concentric circle sort of wave pattern over here, and then kind of the a little more basic simple kind of flap over there. We do have printing on the sort of middle of the legs there as well. Looking at the back of the torso, very similar. We still do have the different colored arms, which is nice here. And we have that same kind of deal with these circle wave type patterns there, and Naya's kind of symbol or emblem emblazoned on the back there. And this is pretty good quality as well. I think it is, you know, somewhat notable. There are many different types of katanas and different colors. These aren't particularly rare, I don't think, but good to get those. Would have loved to get an extra hairpiece for Naya, but that's just not in this set, which that's what the deal is. And then we have two kind of villain characters here. So one of them is a Viper Flyer, and I think they are supposed to have the silver katana piece there. And this is interesting. It's one of these snake kind of people from Ninjago. So we have the really cool like dual molded head here with kind of that metallic gunmetal gray and orange at various points, and kind of the long neck there and the ridges kind of on the back. They have a sort of Doc Ock style attachment or that goes around the minifigure neck, so that we can add on these sort of blade teeth barb elements and clip those on to, I guess, approximate like wings or something like that, which is fine. And I've covered these before, like when I've looked at other sets, but I do really appreciate this. We get like a super detailed torso here with metallic print, fine line details, kind of we get like the scales underneath, and then they're wearing kind of this like harness, and they have a little bit of like a claw there and a dragon face or like snake head over here, and sort of like chain looking pieces or strap looking pieces all underneath there, which I'm really pleased with the quality of this and the amount of detail in here. A little bit does get covered up by the part that overhangs up there, but there's not a ton behind that, but we can see up there that there's a little bit. Oh, whoops. We do get printing on the midsection, and we get printing on the legs. Again, some scales, some markings, different stuff. Nothing on the arms. Back of the torso has a similar kind of thing. So we get this like harness kind of strap thing, and different buckles and stuff. We get kind of scales and whatever visible through, if they're wearing kind of a torn vest or something like that, we can see some of that, or whatever's going on back here, which is nice to see. And then we have a Python Dynamite character, again in a similar thing here. So I think actually the mold for the heads is the same. We kind of have the color swapped here with the kind of gunmetal metallic dark gray and the orange there, so a little bit different. This character has a different torso, and instead of being on that like gunmetal color there for the torso that has like orange printing on it, it's orange but has kind of that dark metallic gray printing on it, and it's a pretty distinct torso compared to the other one. So we can see this here. We got like a big sort of like armor plate thing there. We do still get some like scales. We have kind of a necklace area with maybe some teeth or some claws or something on there. We have the like snake head area kind of in the abdominal region. This one is on the shortest legs, so these legs do not bend. They also don't have any printing on them or like anything like that, and there's not a real functional like midsection in the same way as some of the other legs. Nothing on the arms. Back of the torso has kind of this scale pattern there, armor plated kind of look for it, which is pretty similar to the other one, but very good. And this character comes with a bit of dynamite here, which is good to get those. So those are all of the minifigures, which is great. And there is something about this upgrade path stuff that was common during the whatever series this was. And so I think with like Lloyd and their different masks or different things, there's sort of a progression that's supposed to happen through play and in the show and whatever. And certainly in other sets, there was like a car that you could add on this other stuff. There was like the Mech Evo set that the mech had like extra things that you could put on there to sort of soup up, customize, and improve the deal for play and in the show and whatever. And I think there's some of that in some of these minifigures, especially with Lloyd. And that's fine to see. Overall, 4 minifigures feels pretty good for this size set. The production quality on these is all good. The amount of detail is pretty good. They're not especially rare or difficult figures, I don't think. Difficult to find, that is, but I'm happy with that. We do have a side build here, which is this sort of trebuchet, giant crossbow, sort of cannon, sub-assembly little side build. It starts with kind of one of these like helicopter, I associate this with like a helicopter blade thing there, but it's kind of this triangular 3-pronged looking piece there. We build up on that a little bit, and we have kind of the feet there. It follows the color scheme of the kind of viper, python, snake clan here. And then we have kind of what looks like, the side of like a bow or something using these pieces here, which are a nice color. I think that's kind of like that pale blue sort of teal color. I could have switched these around maybe and then not had those kind of holes visible and from the top at least, so that's fine. And this is all built on a spring-loaded launcher kind of shooter there that we attach. It is on a ratchet hinge, but there's not a lot of range of motion here. We can like click it up one time to get maybe a little more arc on the trajectory, but it's limited by where it runs into other pieces. And we can't really go down any further either. So it's kind of here or here. If we modify this a little bit, we could potentially get a little more range of motion in that in terms of where we want this to aim, but we really only have these 2 stops. I don't think that's that bad. We do get a couple bolts, so one can be loaded in there, other one can be extra. These are, I think, translucent green or yellow. They can be loaded in there pretty easily, and they can be fired off pretty easily as well. So that is cool. Simple build, effective, feels pretty good. I did want to point out, I don't think I built anything wrong on here. I tried to go over the directions and different stuff, but I did in one of the bag of pieces, I had extras of these kind of triangular pieces, and I think they're in green, they're not gold. And I was sort of wondering, because there was some that were used in this, but I could not figure out where these were used, or if this was part of maybe the kind of the upgrading kind of additions or anything like that. So I'm not really sure where those are supposed to go, but I know that they were in a bag that I was like surprised to see them in. And so that just is what it is. I mean, it was, once we kind of transition here to look at the dragon itself, which is the majority of the set, like we do use a couple of those over here. I checked the instructions, I believe, to see how many are included here, but let me pull that out and double check. I used the digital instructions, and I actually did notice, I think in this one, that there was some instruction errors that seemed like, one of those things that'll happen occasionally where in one step, like a piece is visible, but we don't add that piece till later, or like one step, something is on there, but then the next step, it wasn't. And those happen semi-frequently, but ultimately pretty rarely. And they are generally not that problematic, maybe a little bit confusing for people who are like paying very, very close attention to this sort of stuff. And I also know that for one of these, I either dropped a piece or was like missing a piece, which is just the 1x1 stud in, or like the rounded plate 1x1 stud piece there that it gets hidden, and I either dropped it or misplaced it, or it was in one of the bags and I didn't see it when I double checked there. So I just grabbed a flower stud that I had nearby in a different color. It's not visible in any way, so I'd have to remember that I put it there, and then if I get this part, or I'm sure I have this 1x1 stud in the dark blue or whatever, that I can put it in there so that it's correct. But that was just something notable. And then, in bag 2, we use two of these kind of pyramid pieces in green. And that is where all of these were. And there's not any other steps in the bag 2 or that section of the instructions that like calls for those. And if I go to the back here and see if I can find them, I mean, this says that we use 5 of these pyramid pieces. So one of them would be like an extra piece, and the 3 other ones of those would be used somewhere. So if you see where I'm missing them or what I've done that is incorrect here, let me know. I tried looking at official images on the box and in the instructions to see if there was any like obvious areas where I was missing these, and I was not able to come up with anything. So that I don't know what the deal is for that. I'd have to go double check, but that is just something interesting that doesn't often happen and is a cause for like triple checking my work and everything. But either way, that's that. And we have this dragon here. This is a good sized dragon. It's similar in some ways to some of the other dragons from this era, and it is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with this. There are stickers in this set, not a ton. I can grab the sticker sheet here, but most of the details are stickers, so I'll point those out. On the arm here, that's a sticker on a Nexonite shield and one on a slope. There's one here, and then further back on the tail for some of the scale areas there. If we turn to the other side, those are going to be pretty well reflected over there. And then we do have one up on the top of the head right here. And I think that's all of them. They had some good detail. There's not like way too many stickers or anything. And they could be left off probably, but I like them on there. The build for this was similar to a lot of other dragons. We actually start with the body, which makes sense, kind of the torso and everything here. I'm a little bit, in terms of scale and proportions and stuff like that, sometimes these can be a little bit weird. And this one like does thin down a lot in sort of the middle, and the hind legs are a lot thinner than sort of the front. So it's fairly like front loaded, chest kind of heavy, front end heavy. There's some interesting building in here. I think they did a nice job to really round out the front kind of crest of the chest there, which is great. We do use some big kind of round pieces here, which is nice. And the gaps and different things don't feel obvious or weird. And as far as like colors that we're seeing, for the most part, the color scheme here is pretty well utilized, and it's the dark blue, it's the green, there's some different shades of green, there's a little bit of gold and stuff like that. And then the black, the gray, because of different kind of joint pieces and stuff that aren't in other colors, is sort of par for the course. So not a real problem there, but I really liked how this came together, and there's some functionality in this that I really appreciate, and it was integrated well. You can see we have the Technic kind of sticking up here, just in between the wings, kind of right behind the saddle piece there. And that actually is intended to kind of actuate the wings together. So you can see as I move this forward and back, the wings kind of splay out and then they kind of fold back. Not a huge range of motion. You actually there's enough like friction and different stuff in the mechanism that you could have this at some place in between. But this is when this is pulled all the way back, and this is what it looks like when it's all the way forward. So not a huge change, but it does like increase the wingspan and the visual space a good amount. It's very easy to actuate this, and I actually thought the build was pretty cool for these. These are on like the wings themselves have a Technic structure for most of them. They attach up here with some Technic pin pieces. Let me take off the sort of saddle. And then when we have the pins in here, we actually do a thing where the pins go over like bar elements, and then we use like modified 1x4 plates with the bar coming down off of them on top of them to kind of lock those in. Then we attach a couple ball joints. So there's one sort of in here, and then a different style one over here. And those sort of allow this to move forward like that. And then when we pull this back, actually, it allows these kind of connective areas here to angle a little bit and sort of move back like that. And then the actual like where the wings connect to the body can rotate there. And I think the function of this is really, really smooth. It is consistent. The build was cool, and I was pretty happy with this. It's not something that you can really, I would have to be really aggressive with this to move it like very, very fast and whatever, but like having the ability to use this to pose it or to whatever, or to play, if this was going to be taking off and we wanted to do that, I have big figure hands. I can like kind of use like hold on to the body and articulate the wings in one hand. It's a little bit difficult and much easier if I hold it with one hand and use the wings with the other. So that is pretty cool there. And that's built into the body itself. We cover up a lot of that structure in there. It's not super visible, even though there are some pretty obvious gaps throughout here. I think for the most part, it gets covered up in a nice way. We build the legs. The front legs are the same, just mirrored there, and that is fine. They have some good range of motion. So we have the like double kind of ratchet joints up there to splay them out a little bit and move them that way. And then we have the other joints here, which move them forward and back. So we can see what we have in terms of those. Very, very sturdy, very good. The sort of, I guess I'll call it the elbow kind of area bend in here is done with Technic, that is fixed. And then we have sort of the ankle area at the bottom with the feet, and we have a bigger ball joint here so we can move these around. Individual claws can be kind of moved as well, but not a ton. I liked how the feet were done and the claws were done. And then, like I said, it's pretty much the same right to left, just mirrored. And then the hind legs, quite a bit smaller. Again, we have the ratchet joints up here so we can splay these out a bit. We can rotate them as well. So that's like swinging them forward or moving them backward. The sort of knee bend in there is built in, so we don't get articulation there. And then we have the ball joint on the bottom here. And now that I'm looking at this, I am seeing 2 more of these used. So that would make 4 of them. And those are the same green. They're not gold or anything, right? So then we used 4. The set calls for 5. Is that including the extra 1? And then I have 3 extras or something. I don't know. Something weird happened with these these green sort of pyramid tile pieces, or these kind of faceted tile pieces there, because we do have 2, 4, and I don't know. Oh, and then 5 up at the tip of the head, which I haven't gotten to yet. So that is all 5 of them that are in the instructions. One of them is an extra. So I just have 3 extras there. And maybe they, like, I had the idea that if we look at kind of across the ridge or sort of the spine onto the tail, we have these like 1x1 gold clips there, which aren't like used as clips, but they could be, you know, thought of as like spikes on the back of the dragon or scales or whatever sort of adornments there. And I was like, oh, well, maybe they go there. Maybe that's part of the upgrade or whatever else. But it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me because there's more than the 3 of them that I'm assuming are just like extras. I don't really know. If you know, let me know, but I'm glad I was able to finally locate all where 5 of those were used there. That accounts for what was in the back of the instructions. And then, yeah, the ball joint at the back, we can move the feet. You can also like twist these and have a pretty good range of motion here. I don't believe this is going to be stable enough to stand on its hind legs. These ball joint, like maybe if you get the balance very, very right, if we use the tail to kind of counterbalance it and stuff like that, there's maybe potential if we stagger the legs a little bit, and we can get it to stand. So I do have the tail area on the ground. I have one leg a little further forward and one kind of backward there. And then if I adjusted the head or the wings or the front arms, maybe I can lower the like center of gravity or the center of mass for this in such a way that would make this more stable. And I don't feel like it's too bad, but it is a little bit unwieldy, and it would just take a little bit of patience and hands-on sort of thing there to find different poses for this. But I think it can be done, and is about as stable as one might expect. So I wouldn't maybe store it like that long term, but I think there's a real possibility there for some great poses, which is nice. So I do appreciate the amount, like the range of motion of the arms and legs, or the all 4 of the legs and the feet in particular. The feet are very stable. I like how they were built, kind of built like sideways there, bottom of the plates going inside. And then the claws, yeah, like these claws are kind of clipped on vertically and these are clipped on like horizontally. And I like that as well, kind of all over there. I feel like that's a pretty nice thing that I don't think I've seen done before. Looking at the bottom, we can see kind of more of the structure in here. Feels really good. When we build the head, I notice the head articulation is a little bit more limited. So we have a couple ball joints here. We have one up there that's pretty visible. We have one in here, which is actually pretty covered up, but there's not a ton of range of motion here because of the neck area. We actually use one of these key ring pieces underneath there. So we can move this up. I really like how these kind of slope pieces with the kind of cut at them or the angle at them, how those can like interact together and cover up that ball joint if we really, really bend this up as far as it goes. But there is not a lot of downward area here. So in order to like get this further down, we would use the jaw kind of, or the joint rather, up at the front. You could maybe try and get the legs to pose in a way to kind of lower the upper sort of neck area there, but that is limited in here. But I do like how this is all built. The color blocking here is really, really nice. Those pops of kind of that light blue feel really good, and the different color greens and things. And then yeah, the one up on the front, I guess the one back here, we do have a bit of side to side rotational stuff here as well, which is pretty good, and that's pretty satisfying and good to see. And like I say, the ball joint in there is somewhat obscured depending on how it's being looked at, which I appreciate. And then up at the front, you know, we can raise this up, we can lower this down, right to left, rotational here. So you do get a good amount of articulation. See how strong these are. The head is pretty well built, and there's some cool stuff here because it is actually using the same kind of pieces for the upper jaw and lower jaw that like the water dragon used, but they are switched. So on the water dragon, which is packed away in a box right now, I don't have it right next to me. This one with kind of like the horn on the nose area on this model, for the water dragon, it was the lower jaw. And so it kind of became something kind of coming off the chin. And what they do is they print the eyes and scale kind of details on there. So the other one had the eyes and scales kind of printed on the side here. And then we use like a lot of similar pieces to make the head. So they use these 1x3 pieces with clips on them. I don't know if I'll be able to see them. It's like a 1x3 plate, clip on the outside, stud in the middle. And that allows us to have like jaw articulation there, pretty strong thing. Actually, the build for like the bottom of this is really, really straightforward, but we can open it up, we can close it up. Not a ton of range of motion there, and the top doesn't articulate on its own either, but it gets kind of locked in there. And then we have all this bulk behind here, which I really liked how it was built. We got like some gold on there, different kinds of green, and a good amount of like kind of scale details and stuff like that, and kind of the horns here, which is really nice. I also appreciate a little bit of a tongue there, so that is kind of cool, using that claw piece or barb piece in there to create the red tongue, I think is really nice. And this looks great with its mouth open, and viewed at different angles here. You could flare out these sort of horn type pieces used as well. They are up here. They're on a piece that's like a 1x1 hollow stud with the bar coming off of it, like that. And we kind of put those on. So you could sort of move those around as well, which is nice to see. You can't move them up and down at all, but we get a good range of motion with the head. With the tail, we have some similar limitations, but also some good stuff there. It uses the smaller kind of mixel style ball joints. So out at the end, we have this like big blade piece used for the end of the tail. We can rotate it side to side, up and down, not a big deal. We have a small section here, similar thing. We have a next sort of bigger section there, and then we get to a bigger section and a bigger section that connects to the body. You can see the one that's like closest to the body actually uses a 1x2 plate with the bar coming off of it. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see, but this kind of piece underneath here prevents this from, like, it can move down a little bit, cannot move up very much, can move side to side a good amount, but that definitely impacts like its range of motion. All the ones behind that do a pretty good job. With the one in the middle there, you might be, if you move it too far out to the sides, maybe these Nexonite shields with these stickers would pop off, but we can like really curl this up and get it something like that. We can bring it all the way out, we can bring it down and kind of like curl it all the way underneath here as well, maybe, you know, tail between its legs, kind of sheepish. We can bring it out to the side. We could, you know, use this as some sort of play feature or weaponry or just a tail whip kind of smash there. So that's pretty good and is also very posable. could be used to pose this in different forms as a counterweight or another point of contact with the ground, which is nice there. And then yeah, we have the wings, which I didn't talk about. These are cloth wings, really nice kind of I guess printed detail on here. They are distinct, so the right and left have a similar pattern, but they're not like interchangeable. They don't have kind of graphic detail on both sides, so they just have the one way to go, and they don't look great from the bottom, but maybe we wouldn't see them from the bottom. They came in their own kind of little cardboard box in the bag of pieces there, so it looked something like this, which was nice. They were well protected. They look quite good, and they have like little holes for Technic or Mixel ball joint pin pieces to go in there. And the structure for these is nice. We have kind of the three prongs of sort of finger type things that extend out, and it's based on like the one at the center, which is connected to the mechanism that actually moves the wings forward and back. So we have like this kind of stuff up here. There's some interesting building techniques to kind of get the angles of things correct, which I liked. Then we have that kind of three-pronged axle piece in there. Then a couple of different degree angled axle connectors throughout there. Colors feel good. We do have like the gold claws at the tip here. I don't have a problem with any of this. Other side is largely the same, and they just function really well. You know, they have a bit of movement, which is like inherent to this kind of structure there and whatever, but you know, they get a little bit of like a bounce and stuff when moving them a certain way, which I think could be a positive, could be a negative. I'm not worried about them coming off or anything like that. And this still feels really good. So that is sort of the wing structure there. And this comes together in a nice dragon model. And I think at various points, Lego has done buildable dragons like really, really well and maybe not so well, including just in Ninjago itself. And then after this kind of upgrade area we went into, maybe not immediately after, but at a certain point we went to the Dragons Rising season and release. So we've been getting like a lot more dragons and different styles of dragons and different stuff, which is cool to see. This one, yeah, this released alongside, I think, a jungle dragon and a water dragon, but this is a legendary dragon. And I think it does have a sort of heftier presence than those other ones. The water dragon was like very more like snake-like almost, and kind of thin in different sections there. And I haven't looked at the jungle dragon, which I believe is what it's called. So I don't know about that, but this feels pretty cool to me. The one thing is, yeah, I've been sort of beating around it, and that's the like upgrade stuff here. And there's not a ton, unless like we were supposed to take these like horns off. If we had a different piece for the tail there or something added onto the wings, that would like make this different. But we really have basically like one thing that is the sort of saddle area there, and it's built nicely and the colors are nice. The gold, I like the use of these pieces kind of clipped on there, kind of those interesting claw pieces that I don't see is used a ton. We have the sort of ninja weapon thing here. This is a printed tile on there, so kind of that banner or that flag, and we get kind of like some armor sort of paneling up here. We get these little areas clipped on the side. This just attaches on the studs up there, and I think it looks pretty good with that on there. You can kind of fold these down and they don't get in the way of anything, but they actually help cover up a little bit of the mechanism for the wing articulation, which is nice. They kind of obscure potentially some of the stuff around the neck up there, and it feels really nice. And then we do have the banner at the back that's clipped on that we can move. That could get in the way a little bit depending on, you know, how far back it is, but you know, moving the Technic beams in the middle would probably just be able to push that out of the way. Not a big deal, but that is there. Looks good from the side, looks good from the top. And then we can fit characters on here. Lloyd is maybe going to ride on here. You could potentially fit two on there, but it might be a little bit odd. And that's okay, not a big deal, but that is like the saddle area thing that is predominantly what I would consider the upgraded sort of nature of this, which is fine. I mean, it's not as, you know, substantial as some of the other sets that I've looked at from this era of Ninjago. Maybe it is more to do with like the characters sort of upgrading themselves, but there is that element there, and that is kind of nice. I actually just really like it with the saddle on there, but it could be easily removed and not make a huge difference on this. So this is a pretty great set. I'm pretty pleased with this, and I feel good about like the amount of Lego here. Which, before we talk about the price and value and everything, I'll show the extra pieces. You know, I do have these extra green sort of tile pyramid type pieces there, and I don't know what that's about, but the extra pieces at this time we were getting extras of all the katanas. I don't know if they still do that or anything there. And occasionally that's really nice, especially if you get like rare katanas or something like that. But these aren't super valuable, but we do get extras of those, which is nice. All your 1x1s, your studs, your tiles, little clip pieces in here, Technic pins, hilt piece, the spire piece, all of that. No like printed pieces in here, the little 1x1 clip piece in there. Nothing too crazy. I mean, mostly the katanas, I think, are the things that I'm, most thankful for that are included in extra pieces. So that was all of that. And this set is 747 pieces, 4 minifigures, and it retailed for $70. That is the price that I paid for it. And it is retired. I got it sealed in box just on a store. $70 for this amount of stuff, 747 pieces, including some big pieces, specialized pieces with the cloth wings here that are cool. But like these kind of round pieces here, like those are big pieces. You only get 2 of them, but those are big. Do have the printing on the dragon eyes up there. That's good. This is printed, but it's been used in other sets. And the overall like weight of this and the amount of plastic here, the play functions and the display functions, and everything in the dragon, I think it feels pretty fair. I know that, maybe this is from 2022 or 2021 or something around that time. And in 2025, it's a little bit different. $70 for a set that has over 700 pieces, 4 minifigures, printing kind of all the way through, and some extra accessories and different stuff like that of this quality of build, feels acceptable and feels good. I think be great to get this on sale, 10% off, $63, 20% off. We're looking at like $14 off, and then we're at $56 or something. That would be like a really good deal, I would say. On Bricklink and other websites where people might be selling these, for a new in box, I think I saw some that were under MSRP that were in like the 65, whatever, even down to 60, maybe even below 60 into the $50 range. But then there's like shipping. The box is relatively big, all things considered. And so I don't know how much shipping would be, but if the shipping is $10+, then even those purchases on Bricklink, for example, are going to be pretty similar to what I paid because I didn't have to have this shipped to me. I'm fine with this set being $70. That actually feels like a pretty standard price for MSRP for a set like this. I think it would have been great to get this on sale. I would have loved if this retailed for $60 out of the gate, but I think I see why maybe it wasn't. Just the way that Lego works, and Lego's expensive and all this other stuff. I would always love for it to be cheaper and more affordable and more accessible. And maybe that time will come eventually post retirement for this set. I'm not 100% sure, but I paid retail for this years after it retired, and I don't feel bad about that at all. So I'm really grateful for this, and I think the retail price is not too far off. And I always say this, and I'm not sure how correct I am in this instance, but if this set came out today and was exactly the same, would it be priced at $70? I like to think so. Maybe it would even be cheaper than that. I have a feeling in my heart that it wouldn't be cheaper, and that it would probably be a little bit more, getting into 75, $80 or something like this, because the amount of minifigures and whatever else, you know, in 2025, 80, $90. I wouldn't be thrilled about that at all, but that just seems kind of like a likely reality of this. So $70 in comparison is quite good. I am happy with that. I loved putting this together. I think this is like a very nice, simple feature that is integrated well and works well, and I'm pretty pleased with that. And I don't know if I've seen anything exactly like it before. So I think that is pretty cool. And this is just a good looking set, fun set, great like play, great articulation, expression, or the amount of expressivity of it, or how expressive it can be rather, is quite good. The figures aren't too special, but you do get several of them, and that is nice. Get a little bit of a side build with some projectiles and different stuff. So all in all, I really like this, and I'm happy about this. So, it gets a thumbs up from me, and I'm really grateful to have been able to look at this and build it and buy this and have this and talk about it on the channel, because I love to talk about Lego video or Lego sets. So I'm really, really pleased. And I think that is it. So if you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the Lego videos I'll be doing here in the future, including more dragons, more Ninjago, tons of other Lego sets from all different themes, all different shape, size, price point, piece count, old sets, new sets, retired sets, sets that are coming out, a bunch of sets from August 1st, 2025, September 2025. I'll look at CMFs, I'll look at polybags, I'll look at big sets, collector sets, all sorts of different stuff. So if you're interested in my videos about various Lego sets, maybe consider subscribing. That helps me a lot. And then if you wanted to support the channel and give money to the channel, you can do that. There are ways on YouTube where you can just straight up give money, like membership, supers, and thanks. Patreon is kind of like that. I'm still thinking about retooling the benefits for members and patrons and whatever. There's also a buy me a coffee link. There'll be some affiliate links there. And I don't know if there'll be one for this, for the retailer that I have affiliate links for, because this is retired. I'll sort of look, but there'll be a link for like a generic search on that major online retailer for Lego. So if you click that link and find a set that you like or something and buy it, I'm going to get like a small percentage of a commission for that sale. Every little bit helps. It's no additional cost to you. Also, if you click one of those links for some of the equipment that I use, keyboards, cameras, lights, microphones, whatever else, there is a affiliate links for those. But if you click on any of the affiliate links and then you look for like big plastic bins to hold Lego, or like fake flower kind of garland, or antique seeming lamps that also charge your phone, or command strips, or anything else that you might be buying from that major online retailer, and you use one of my links at no additional cost to you, I would still probably get a small percentage commission, and every little bit helps. It does add up. So maybe consider clicking on one of those links before you shop there, if you shop there. And I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I also have merch. It should be in the bottom. I've added some new designs. I'm actually wearing some of the merch right now. Pretty happy with this one. This is it's not visible, but It is the like brick built Penrose triangle shirt, the long sleeve, and I think this is the premium long sleeve one. But there's some other SoBricks style merch up there. There's one that I'm really excited about that I don't have in my hands yet, but that's in the T Public. It's linked to the YouTube. You can go to the T Public. You can follow my link there. You can search for SoBricks on T Public and probably find some of that stuff. And I get a little bit of that sale too. So if you're interested in some merch, check that out. Again, thank you very much. And with all that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.